Hey, what's going on? This is Michael from Modern Musician, and in this video, we're going to walk through how to launch your fan magnet. It's going to allow you to find and connect to the right fans who are most likely to resonate with you and with your music so that you can grow your audience and ultimately to do your music career full time. This is module 2 of our free Modern Musician course. If you haven't seen the first module yet, then feel free to go back and watch it. We have really identified what's your artist identity and what's the tip of the iceberg content. It's going to allow you to cut through the noise and stand out in an increasingly saturated market for musicians. So by the end of this training, you're going to have an automated system that allows you to grow your fan base on autopilot. So basically every single day, you're going to wake up with messages from new fans who are discovering your music, who are enjoying it, who aren't just the same friends and family, but are actually people who are just genuinely excited and enjoying your music, which is awesome. And ultimately, that gives you a sense of motivation and purpose. I think that as musicians, one of the most motivating things that drive us is the connection that we have with our audience, with the people who are actually listening to the music, who are enjoying it. I know for me personally and for the artists that we work with, probably the number one thing that drives them is this sense of connecting with people. Having super fans is really what makes you feel like what you're doing is worth it. When people are really genuinely excited to hear your songs and want to hear the next song that's coming out, it's going to really inspire you to keep focusing and creating more music. Also, it's going to allow you to build a community that's consistently growing, that's refreshing itself over time. I think if you don't have this, then it tends to go stale over time. One of the biggest reasons that we're creating this free course is because I'm looking for new artists to mentor personally. So I built a team of 29 artist coaches at Modern Musician. Basically, our job is to help you to launch your music career and to grow successfully. And within the mentorship, we hold your hand over the course of 3 months as we launch a profitable funnel that allows you to grow your fan base on autopilot and make sustainable income with your music. The past year alone, our artists have generated over $2.6 million in revenue with their music and over 96 million streams. And we had an artist whose album hit #1 on iTunes as an independent singer-songwriter. So if you're interested in the mentorship, we have an application process you can go through where you can share your music and you can talk about why you think you might be a good fit for the application. We get between 800 to 900 applications per month, and we accept about 25 to 30 artists to work with personally. If you're interested, you can submit an application. We have a team of talent scouts that will read through your applications. If we might be a good fit, we'll schedule a free coaching call to get to know each other more, to ask some more questions, and we'll go from there. All right, so let's dive into the training for today. So in the last module, we walked through really crafting your artist identity and figuring out what sets you apart from other artists and how can you cut through the noise in a landscape that's becoming more and more saturated over time. Most fans are just filtering out the majority of information that comes at them online, and it just goes under the radar. So really, we need to figure out how do we cut through the noise so that you're actually able to connect directly with the right fans who would resonate most with your music. Really, the best way to do that is by figuring out what's your tip of the iceberg content. And what are the 1 to 3 pieces of content that are the most valuable things that you could share with a new listener so that it's the very first thing that they see, as opposed to having to dig through 12 weeks worth of selfies and dog photos in order to really get to the most valuable part of what you offer. Let's say that you have 1 to 3 songs that you've really honed your craft and that these set you apart. And now the biggest question is, how do I actually connect the right people who are going to enjoy the music and build an audience around it? Growing your fan base is sort of like starting a fire, in the sense that this tip of the iceberg content is sort of like 3 logs that you can start the fire with. And the rest of this content is sort of like wet grass. If you're trying to start a fire with wet grass, then it's just not really gonna work no matter how much wet grass you throw on it. But if you have those 1 to 3 pieces of content that really cut through the noise, and it's kind of like they're doused with lighter fluid. They're primed to be able to start this fire. But one of the biggest problems at this point that I see artists struggling with is that, one, your music is a reflection of you and who you are, and it feels very personal, and it's really scary to basically put it out. They might hold on to songs for years. Then, because of that fear, you have this release strategy. And man, maybe if I stand on one leg and I hop around the fire, and if I do it perfectly, this is how I'm gonna drop the logs into the fire pit. Eventually, I see a lot of musicians, they just get tired of holding on to the logs. Oh man, I need to get these out. I'm just gonna drop them. So they just drop them in the fire pit, and then nothing really happens. Because it doesn't matter how good your songs are, how talented you are. Even if you're the most talented person in the world and you have amazing, amazing songs, these giant logs to start the fire with, all you do is put them into a fire pit, then nothing happens. The fire doesn't just magically start. I want to share the 3 best strategies that we found that are working for musicians right now in order to go from scratch to actually reaching new fans and growing your audience. So the first strategy something we call tour hacking. And it's sort of like gasoline on the fire because it's a great way to start out from scratch. And this is actually how my band went from living in our van, sleeping in Walmart parking lots, to selling 24,000 CDs in about 6 months. So it's a really powerful strategy. But it's not for everyone, so I'll kind of walk through the pros and cons of it. Then we also have virtual tour hacking, which is sort of like a flamethrower in the sense that you can literally just pull a trigger and it goes whoosh and it shoots out flames for the fire. So that one's awesome, but it also has kind of its pros and cons, so we'll walk through that. And then we have hyper networking. And hyper networking is basically finding a fire that's already going and putting your logs next to that fire. And it can be one of the most powerful ways to grow your fan base really quickly, but it's probably not for you unless you already have a bit of momentum, you already have like leverage going in your music career. So let's start with tour hacking. So tour hacking was this idea that our lead singer had when we first started out, and there were 6 of us in the band. We were big fans of bands like Blink-182 and All Time Low and Mayday Parade, people in this pop punk scene. And before their shows, these bands would have thousands of people waiting in lines outside the venues, just like sitting on a blanket and sometimes waiting for days ahead of time in order to get a good spot in the show. And so we thought, what if we just walked up to those people and introduced ourselves and shared some of our songs? And we had a pair of headphones and some like clips of our songs. I had a backpack full of CDs, so if they liked the song, I would offer a CD. I was like a super shy, awkward kid, so that didn't come naturally to me at all at first, like shaking and stuttering as I walked up to people. But what we found was just that it worked incredibly well, and we sold 24,000 CDs in about 6 months doing that. And because of that, one of the bands that we were tour hacking on was called All Time Low, and they had millions of fans, and they were like our idols. I'm pretty sure the first song we ever covered as a band was Dear Maria, Count Me In by All Time Low. And they gave us the opportunity to open for them on their next tour. So we basically went from living in our van in Walmart parking lots to selling 24,000 CDs and going on tour with our favorite band in about 6 months. Tour hacking is probably the thing when I reflect on my life that has made the biggest personal impact, helped me overcome the fear of rejection and connect with as many people, had conversations with so many fans who are the right fans because they're actually waiting in lines for shows. They actually go to shows, they care about music, right? So when I started my family and I started coaching other musicians and created this business, one of the first things I did was I was trying to figure out how do I provide value, or what worked for us that would work for other musicians. So I wasn't sure if tour hacking would work, and so I, kind of tested it out with a few of the first clients I started working with. And there's one band there's 2 guys in the band, and they went out and they did it. And they made $11,000 in a single month, from scratch with 2 guys in the band. So I was like, awesome, cool, like this still works. Everyone should go tour hacking. And ultimately, what I found is that people loved the story of tour hacking and they could understand why it worked, but the majority of people weren't willing, for a multitude of different reasons, to go out and actually meet fans who are waiting in lines for shows. I think it's because it's actually really terrifying. The experience of going and doing this goes against everything biologically in our DNA. It's really scary to walk up to strangers in lines for shows. And also, if there's global pandemic, or there's you have a day job or friends and family that you can't just pick up and leave, then it makes a strategy like that really difficult. Tour hacking I'm a big fan of it. It's like gasoline for the fire. If you're willing to go do it, then go try it out. It's probably one of the fastest ways to grow a fan base from scratch. But the next strategy that we came up with is what we call virtual tour hacking. And I think it's a lot more accessible for the majority of people because it basically does the same thing as tour hacking, but you do it online. And you use something called messenger campaigns. So on Instagram and Facebook especially, you can run these messenger campaigns. It's sort of like a flamethrower because literally you can pull the trigger and whoosh, it shoots out flames. And so this is called paid traffic. There's pros and cons to paid traffic. One of the cons is that if you're gonna run paid traffic, you need to be really smart about your targeting so you're reaching the right people. It's pretty easy just to blow up your numbers or get fake numbers just by paying for third world country, fake bot follower kind of stuff, which ultimately hurts you. So that's one of the dangers to look out for. And the other danger is if with paid traffic, you need to be really smart about having a funnel on the back end so that for every dollar you put in, you can get at least $1 more out. So you have to get really smart about how you're tracking your metrics and about the systems that you're setting up. But I'm a big fan of virtual tour hacking because I call this hyper organic. hyper-organic because you're still having these conversations with fans, which I found like the conversation, that element is so valuable. It's like the way to build a relationship is by having conversations. And so through those messenger campaigns, you can connect with new fans and it allows you to scale up. Ultimately, you have to get kind of smart about systematizing it. So we have a bunch of systems that we call it Artist AI that we're creating. And it uses the same tools as Amazon Alexa and Google Home to basically interpret the meaning of the messages that are coming in. And it allows you to create automated flows that have your voice, but and are reflections of you, but are smart and are able to have these conversations for you, which is pretty cool. That's virtual tour hacking in a nutshell. What we're gonna launch in this free course is your 100K music video campaign, which is a paid traffic campaign. The target that I would aim for is hitting at least 100,000 views for less than $500 in ad spend. And that's something that you absolutely will be able to hit if you follow the instructions and your music is decent. When we first started out, our music was like not very good, but we were still able to, to grow our fan base from scratch with like the not very good music. So I think your music is probably better than ours was when we were first starting out. Yeah, so that's basically the goal with this free course. Help you launch one of those campaigns, get your first 100,000 views on one of your videos, like real, authentic views. That's paid traffic, right? That's kind of like the flamethrower. Whoosh, you shoot out the flames. The next strategy, and this is one of my favorite ones, but it's really going to be only for you if you already have a bit of momentum, you have engagement already. Hyper-networking is basically finding other fires that already exist and putting your logs next to those fires. This is doing things like going on tour with a bigger artist, or collaborating with another artist and featuring them on a song, or creating a YouTube video together with this other artist. Right? These are all ways to kind of put your fires together in a way that benefits both fires. Another analogy is that it's kind of like bees cross-pollinating. It's a win-win for everyone. One of the challenges with that is that if you're just starting out and you don't have a fire started yet, then you don't really have anything to leverage, because usually in order to do this, there's like a fire on both sides and it kind of comes together to create a bigger fire. If you don't have at least 5,000 to 10,000 engaged fans yet, then you might start with either like one of these virtual tour hacking methods or tour hacking methods to really be able to grow your initial fan base. And then from there, you're gonna have more leverage to be able to reach out and collaborate with other artists and be able to continue to grow. One thing that I wanna walk through really quickly with you is what we call the evolution of a fan. And this is really the journey that a fan goes through from first discovering your music to becoming a fan to actually becoming someone who supports you and financially spends money because they love your music and they want to be a part of what you're doing. This is specifically what we're going to build together over the course of this free course, is taking a fan from a new listener. So this is someone who listens to a teaser track. So that means that they listen for about 30 seconds to one of your new songs to see if they enjoy it or not, and take them from that point to becoming a subscriber. So that means that they actually subscribe to what we call your street team. I'm gonna walk through a demo of how this whole process works for you in a bit, but basically when they subscribe to your street team, you offer them a gift in exchange for joining, and we call that your fan magnet. So that's the next stage. They go from a listener to actually subscribing, and that allows you to be able to communicate with them, to send them emails and text messages, to be able to stay in touch. So the third step is becoming an engager. So this is anyone who engages with your Street Team community. They do things like attend your live shows, and they do things like follow you on your different social media platforms. And we actually break this up into 5 different levels of engagement and automatically track this for you, so you can create lookalike audiences based on how engaged your fans are. Don't worry if that sounds kind of like geeky and techy, like we're gonna walk through exactly how that works. Just know that there's different levels to being an engager. And then there's patrons. So this is basically someone who goes from engaging with your community, being active, to actually becoming a customer, right? Being a patron and giving you money. And usually this is, like when I think of a patron, I think of someone who's more of a low ticket, someone who's ordered some merchandise, someone who has supported you, but isn't necessarily like one of your core fans, right? And then a core fan is anyone who's made a high ticket purchase. And we're gonna walk through the 4 different offers we recommend making. And your diamond offers are the things that you can offer for over $1,000. And your core fans are anyone who purchases one of those diamond offers. Ultimately, what you're gonna be able to do is be able to create lookalike audiences based on your most engaged fans. And so if you can create an audience based on your core fans, then the algorithm is basically gonna look at those core fans and see what are their common characteristics. And when you create a lookalike audience, then it's gonna allow you to target the people that most closely match the characteristics of your core fans, which is pretty dang cool. Real quick demo of how this process works is we're gonna get you set up with our StreetTeam software. We're gonna give you a free trial to use the software. Ultimately, the most important thing is just finding, doing this process, the fundamentals of this process wherever you need to take someone from listener to subscriber to an engager to a patron to a core fan. There's different tools you can use for it, but we built this tool, custom built for you specifically to be able to run this entire process. This is called StreetTeam. And basically, what we're going to get you set up with is this process where your new fan can, click on a link to go to your fan funnel. It's going to ask them where they listen to music, and from there, it's going to say listen for 30 seconds to unlock a free gift. Listening for 30 seconds, counts as a stream, and also it unlocks this gift. And it's going to ask, did you enjoy the song? And if they didn't like it, then you'll filter people out. But if they liked it, you can say get your free starter pack, and they can get the free starter pack by either moving forward with a social media network or by subscribing with a different email address. And so your free starter pack, we're going to walk through that later on in the course when we're walking through your revenue system. That's one of the 4 different offers you're going to be creating for your fans. Then from there, they'll unlock access to your street team. And so your street team is basically this community that you're building that rewards and gamifies these different fan actions that fans can do to support you as an artist. Through doing that, they can unlock different perks and benefits. They can get more points. They can rank up in your street team. And for you, you can actually create lookalike audiences based on your most engaged fans. So that's one thing I'm super excited to geek out more and we'll kind of walk through throughout the course of the free course. So that's just a quick walkthrough of the evolution of the fan. Hopefully that helps you understand it from a higher level. Really the next step in terms of this specific module, the action plan, is that in the next video, we're going to create your targeting audience. Basically, we're going to identify who are the fans who are most likely to resonate with your music so we can target those people when we launch your campaign. Then in video number 3, we're going to launch your 100K video views campaign. So this specifically is going to reach out to that targeting audience, and it's going to put your music video in front of them. And this is great because you can directly connect with the people who are most likely to resonate with the music and kind of get things started. Pretty systematically, we can aim to get 100,000 views for less than $500 in ad spend. So it's a great place to start out. If you don't have any sort of budget to be able to invest into promoting your music, then my recommendation is to either save up, work a job to save up some money to be able to invest into a campaign like this, because it's going to save you a lot of time long term. Or you can also go tour hacking, or you can do something like that allows you to start from scratch, do it totally for free, and then come back and start running paid traffic once you have a budget for it. The last thing to mention here is one, if you got value from this video, if you're excited, please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And let me know if you have any ideas for future videos or questions or things we can help you with. I'm happy to connect and get some feedback so we can serve you as best as possible. If you're here right now and you're thinking, man, this is awesome, I wanna go even faster, I wanna save as much time as possible and just kind of cut to the chase, then the next best thing that you could do is sign up for our Modern Musician Masterclass. Modern Musician Masterclass takes this entire free course and we've really summarized it down to about 2 hours, where we're going to focus on specifically the 5 steps to explode your fan base, make a profit with your music online. The one requirement is that you need to have at least one high quality song that you feel proud of, that you're ready to share with new fans. If that's you, then in this masterclass, we're going to walk through specifically what are the resources in terms of your fan funnel and your spreadsheets and your metrics tracker, and what are the top 4 offers you need to make in order to hit your first $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 per month and beyond. In that masterclass, it's going to save you so much time, money, and energy long term. In the past year alone, we've invested over $738,000 to be able to learn what's working right now for independent musicians. In 2 hours, you're going to learn what I've personally invested over 11 years of my life to figure out. You're also going to be able to figure out how to avoid the most common mistakes that the majority of musicians are making nowadays. If that's something you'd be interested in, you can click on the link in the description to go check out the masterclass. Otherwise, I'm really excited. In the next video, we're going to walk through how to create your targeting audience to be able to find and connect with the right people who are going to resonate with your music. Smash the like button, and I'll see you on the next video. Yeah!